Welcome back, everybody, to the Even Your Dynasty show. On today's video, we're going to talk about the non-roster invites list. And it's not the most exciting thing to talk about, but I do think that it's going to give us an idea on like some of the things that are going on with different competitions on the roster. And it does kind of give some insight into their way of thinking, it feels like. So we're going to talk about that. Before we do that, reminder, we are doing our live show tomorrow. That is because I'm going to be out of town for about 11 days starting on Friday night. So Dan and Ricky are still going to do a live show the following week. But the reason I'm bringing it up is we have a giveaway. We want to do it 1,500 subscribers. I think we're like 15 people away. If you guys can get us to 1,500 before tomorrow, we will do the giveaway on tomorrow's live show. Otherwise, it's going to take place when we get back. Now, also, when we get back, we do have another player that is talking to us about joining the show for another interview. Another person down in the minor leagues that we're really excited, and another member of the 2024 draft class potentially. So once I confirm it, though, I will tell you guys the name on who it was. Otherwise, we're excited to bring that to you in a couple weeks. Hopefully, you guys did check out the Jeremiah Jenkins interview. He was awesome. Super grateful for him. If you guys do enjoy the content, please do hit that like, hit that subscribe. We're going to try and keep bringing more player interviews to you guys. Obviously, it's going to get a little tough once the season starts. We'll probably shift gears and try and bring, former players, coaches, things like that on the show. But it's been awesome this offseason. Been really blessed to have a couple of these young players that are, willing to give us their time, and you guys can get some insight from them. But moving on to the actual content for today, and that is to talk about the non-roster invite list, which, you look at the list and there were only really two names that I think truly stood out on that whole list. And that's Bryce Eldridge getting his first appearance. Now, it seems from what you hear, it sounds like the Giants are pretty set on him going back to the minors for at least to start next season. Probably the case. That was always going to be the betting favorite on what to happen. I've always been a little more open as far as if he really forced the issue in spring training. Sounds like they've kind of closed the door. I think unless he shows up to spring training and his defense has taken a massive step in the offseason, I do think it's unlikely. It was pretty interesting to hear Mike Krukow talk about how the Giants view he has a major league ready bat at 20 years old. So, there are guys like JT Snow, Will Clark. Sounds like they're trying to get Brandon Belt into camp to work as like guest instructors. These guys are going to work with Bryce, and all of them were really good defensive first basemen. So maybe his defense does show enough, but I do think it's highly unlikely. He is very likely going to spend a large chunk of the season in, double A or triple A, depending on where they decide to start him, which is fine. There's no reason to rush him. Only bring him up when you are ready to hand him the keys to the team and be like, you're our first baseman going forward, no matter what you do on the field. For at least a certain amount of time, because we can't play the up and down game anymore. The other big name that really stood out is that they have Carson Whisenhunt getting his first crack at big league camp. I do find he's going to be very unlikely to make the team out of camp. But he is, he can show some stuff, and it has, I think, if the team decided to use him as a left-handed bullpen piece, there is an outside chance, but I do believe the team still views him as a starter. I'm not a believer in playing the bullpen starter game with guys. If you even have thoughts of developing him as a starter, keep developing him as a starter. Continue to let him build up his innings and his endurance, and go from there. If at some point you've reached the point where you don't believe they can be a starter anymore, that's when you start playing with the idea of putting them in the bullpen. Maybe you mess with it at the end of the year. He gets like his full year and you make him a September call up in a bullpen role. That's fine. That's totally different. If you're if you reach the end of the year, even if you're not in the wild card race or anything, that's a point where you can make that move. But to me, you just absolutely do not do that at the beginning of the year. A few of the other guys, we have a big thoughts on like the whole left-handed pitching competition. You look at their list, and here I'm actually going to share this list on the screen. You look at the list of non-roster invites, and it's pretty underwhelming, especially when you look at the lefties. You have Raymond Burgess, who made a brief appearance in San Francisco last season. Joey Lucchesi, obviously, they just signed him this offseason. A guy I wouldn't sleep on would be Ethan Small. They traded for him last offseason. He was injured. He only threw 13 innings last season, has a very abnormal delivery, has been really successful in the minor leagues to this point in his career, has only had a brief appearance in the majors with Milwaukee, struggled, but he's still relatively young. He's a guy, I think he's about 27. He could always, potentially be a guy that they use. But there's not a lot of experience when you look through this list, and outside of a guy like Lucchesi. So it'll be interesting. Those are the guys that you maybe want to watch for as far as possible lefties to make the team. I look down the list of righties. I don't see any that really jump out to me that could make the team. Maybe Cole Waits if he's fully healthy and his stuff is good. He was a guy that obviously made an appearance in San Francisco at one point. Then they non-tendered him or DFA'd him. He stayed with the organization. But not much there. As far as catchers, Logan Porter and Max Stassi, they'll be in camp, barring Tom Murphy being injured. I don't see them in serious competition to win a job. It'll probably be either Huff or Murphy since both the guys are on the 40-man. Looking at the other infielders, Lamb is a camp body. It's pretty clear there. Unless Wilmer or Wade or both are just not healthy, I don't see him as even really an option. But Wade and Wilmer are both known to get hurt. So we'll see there. Christian Koss, he actually was pretty successful between AA and AAA. Had a really nice season last year, but on the older side, kind of probably viewed around the league more as like a 4A guy. I don't think he's serious competition to win a job, but you just never know. If he has just a massive spring, maybe he can play his way into that competition. But with Basabe and Schmidt and Wisely as options to be off the bench, I don't think he's really got a big shot. So from me, this tells me that the Giants feel pretty good about what's on their 40-man. Whether they should or not, that could be debated, but they clearly feel decent about what's currently on their 40-man. You're probably going to look at, Schmidt or Wisely or Basabe, Drew Blank, being the backup infielder. Basabe, I think, has a good chance because he is a really high-end defensive shortstop. Now, granted, the Giants have Adames, who is known to be extremely durable, but it is good to have a guy that can play multiple positions in the infield at a high level. Schmidt obviously does really well at third base, has shown he can play second base at an above average level. Not great at short, passable in a short stint, I would say, but that's about it. But similar situation. You have Fitzgerald and Chapman, who are both viewed as pretty durable players. Now, Fitzgerald's a little bit more of a question mark. A lot of his, batted ball metrics and the under the hood statistics and analytics don't really scream sustainable. So that's going to be the biggest question mark for me going into next season. In the infield would probably be at second base. How sustainable is what Fitzgerald did this season? If he plays like he did for a chunk of last year, I think we're all going to be thrilled, and he could be a really damn good player. If the batted ball stuff regresses significantly, which it could, that's always a risk, then a guy like Schmidt can end up getting another real shot. So we're going to kind of have to just wait and see there. But the biggest thing on this is there are no outfielders on their non-roster invite. So that tells me the Giants are pretty much dead set with, obviously Lee and Ramos are going to start in left and center more than likely. And then in right field, they've got Yaz, they've got Matos, they've got Encarnacion, they have Grant McCray. They've got quite a few outfielders already on and now Marco Luciano is moving to the outfield as a corner outfielder. It sounds like they're pretty comfortable with what they have in the outfield. So I think it gives a very strong, it's kind of a vote of confidence to a guy like Luis Matos or Encarnacion, who Harar is out of options, something to keep in mind. Now, even if Matos wins the 4th outfielder job, I don't think it rules out Harar making the team, because the team doesn't really have any strong options to be a DH. Bob Melvin has said all offseason that he doesn't really want a guy that just takes up that spot every day. They kind of want to be able to rotate players through that spot, which makes sense. Get Chapman a day off in the field, get Lee a day off occasionally in the field, get Adames a day off, get Ramos a day off, get these guys days off on occasion out of the field. But you're still going to have to fill a few games where these guys are all going to be in the field and you're trying to fill out the DH. So a guy like Harar, if he can show some, continue showing a lot of the really good things he did with the bat last season, then he might make a ton of sense in that spot. Or they may just roll with Wilmer Flores and hope to God he puts together a 2023 season. Y'all know how I feel about wishing for that, but that could just be the direction they decide to go. But that's all I really have to say about this non-roster invite. Excited for spring training. As I mentioned earlier, we are going to do the weekly updates. Like I did last season, I'll run through the numbers, who kind of has stood out. I'm going to do my best to pull as many spring training highlights as I can, get stuff in front of people. There are ways that you can kind of watch some of the games. If you have like MLB TV and things like that, you can get them on other teams' networks. Otherwise, the Giants, unfortunately, are only televising 6 of their games, which is pretty disappointing. So, we'll try and keep putting stuff out there. We are going to continue trying to get, like I said, different player interviews and stuff like that. But spring training's here, season's starting. That means we're going to have less opportunities to get the current guys in the system until, next September, October. So we've got a few, at least one more, I think, lined up. After that, we're probably going to have to wait, but we will try and work on getting some former Giants and things like that to jump on the show. So we'll still be trying to get you guys some cool guests. Other than that, we will be going live tomorrow night. Like I said, hit the subscribe button. If we get to 1,500, we will do the giveaway. Ricky's got a pretty cool Patrick Bailey item. I can't give away the specifics on it yet, because I'm going to share that for him, because honestly, he kind of showed it to us a month or so ago, and I don't know exactly what it is. So he'll show you guys on the live if he's with us tomorrow. Otherwise, hope you guys all have a great Wednesday night, and we'll catch you all tomorrow night. See ya.